This Ultra smartphone has been touted as the most ultra of all ultras that have ever ultraed. The peak smartphone, if you will. And if I'm reading the spec sheet right, it seems as if Oppo has stolen something from Apple that Apple might get kinda mad about. Sensor shift. But we'll get to that more in a second. Right out of the box, the Oppo Find X9 Ultra is gorgeous. The back panel has subtle swirls of creamsicle orange with a camera island reminiscent of Pangea. Oppo says that their main camera also has the largest sensor ever integrated into a smartphone, and we're going to find out from the inside, voluntarily or involuntarily, if that's true. Inside the Oppo Find X9 Ultra box, we have the 100-watt fast charging brick, a USB-C charging cable, a SIM card removal tool that's extremely happy to see us, and also, Oppo has been nice enough to include a free case in the box. Apple would never. Starting off with the front of the X9 Ultra, I've found an interactive background where I can trace any one of my fingers across the surface of the glass and get some cool visuals. A distraction from the inevitable to be sure, but a fun distraction nonetheless. I'll remove the pre-installed plastic screen protector and start working our way up through the Mohs scale of hardness. Plastic screens like the one we saw on the Big Me e-ink phone would scratch at a level 2 or 3. Glass scratches at a 5 or 6. And sapphire screens scratch at a level 8 or 9. The X9 Ultra is using Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which has very visible scratches at a level 6 with deeper grooves at a level 7. This means the top hole punch 50 megapixel selfie camera is protected by the same tempered glass as the screen. The camera sits right below the earpiece slit. Making our way to the golden, anodized sides of the X9 Ultra, we have aluminum. The official name of this color variant is Canyon Orange, but creamsicle just sounds and probably tastes so much better. The buttons do not pop out, take note Samsung. Up at the top we have the upper loudspeaker opening and microphone hole, and the top reeded edge of the camera plateau, just like a coin. The straight knurling around Pangea is definitely metal. Then on the left side we get a programmable button and a whole lot more aluminum. The aluminum follows us to the bottom where we have the SIM card tray, 100-watt fast charging USB-C port, and bottom loudspeaker opening. The SIM card tray has a red rubber ring to help with the IP66, IP68, and IP69 water and dust resistance. And speaking of aluminum, it turns out that 75% of all aluminum ever produced is still in circulation today. Since aluminum doesn't degrade when it's melted, it can be recycled over and over indefinitely. Your smartphone probably used to be an energy drink, and your energy drink could very well be your next smartphone, which is the perfect segue into my own little project, all bottled up inside future iPhones. It's called Bison Energy. I got to tour the canning facility where the empty bright aluminum cans go into a multi-million-dollar can printing machine. The UV light instantly cures the ink on the sequential printing stations. I started Bison Energy with the goal to help better fund adaptive athletes, like monoskiers, murder ball players, blind soccer, and wheelchair basketball. You know, all kinds of adaptive sports. In my own opinion, Bison Energy kinda tastes like a cross between Red Bull and those Flintstone vitamins you used to take as a kid. Which, if you think about it, maybe the reason everything started going downhill was because you stopped taking your vitamins. Either way, it's probably time to get back on track. Bison Energy has 100% worth of 9 vitamins and minerals, and even includes iron and magnesium, which about 50% of adults are deficient in. I can make a more in-depth video on the can manufacturing process here soon, but until then, the link is down in the description, and I'm curious to know what you think. Where was I? Ah yes, aluminum. Turns out the back of the phone is in fact not aluminum, or glass, it's plastic. Again, not a super big issue. I actually like having plastic on the back of my phone. It just doesn't happen all that often for some reason on Ultra or Pro devices, but it should. There's no question that plastic increases durability and repairability. The dual diffused LED flash is covered with plastic as well. The whole backside of the Oppo Find X9 Ultra is designed to look like a giant camera, because that's basically what it is. Up top we have our 50 megapixel 10x telephoto camera with the sensor shift technology that's borrowed from Apple. We'll talk more about how cool this is in just a second. Then we have the 200 megapixel main camera on the right with the largest sensor ever integrated into a smartphone, then another 200 megapixel 3x telephoto on the left, and a 50 megapixel wide angle camera on the bottom. with a fifth hidden camera that keeps colors and tones consistent in real time, while the other cameras swap between perspectives. It's a beast. The screen as well is top of the line, with 1 billion colors, 2K resolution, 1800 nits, and 144 Hz refresh rate. It easily beats out both Apple and Samsung's high-end phones, and lasts for 25 seconds under the heat from my lighter, with no permanent damage. If we're looking for permanent damage though, now's the time for the bin test. We'll get to see the insides of this Find X9 Ultra one way or another, and the quickest way, sometimes, might just be to snap it in half. But unfortunately, it looks like we might have to take it apart manually, since the X9 Ultra is incredibly rigid when bent from both the front and the back. Pangea will not be divided today. The Oppo Find X9 Ultra survives my durability test. The more I see it though, the more I really like plastic on the backs of premium and ultra phones. Glass is just super dumb if you think about it. Glass is glass, and the less of it we use on our smartphones, the more likely the phone is able to survive a drop or a repair. So huge thumbs up to Oppo for using plastic. Yeah, D-brand might not sell as many grip cases in the future, but that's just something they'll have to deal with. With the back panel successfully removed and no glass bits in my fingertips, we can get the phone turned off and start unscrewing the lower 7 silver screws with a tiny Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to see how Oppo's sensor shift technology compares to Apple's and why it matters. You know, Oppo's to Apple's. There are 15 more black screws holding down the top plastics, with of course the main camera units taking up most of the real estate inside of the phone. You're going to be amazed when you see the motherboard on this thing. With the back plastics gone, we can witness the dual LEDs for the flash, the 5th color sensing camera, and of course our 50-watt wireless charging. For reference, both Apple and Samsung only wirelessly charge half as fast at 25 watts. The upper stereo speaker is up here as well, but no balls. I'll remove the 2 battery plugs just like little Legos. There's a pull tab here off to the left, but it's about as worthless as the letter G in lasagna, since I still have to use isopropyl alcohol to dissolve the adhesive to get it released. Oppo says that this is a self-developed spherical silicon carbon 7050 mAh battery, which has nearly twice the capacity as an iPhone 17 Pro, but who's counting? With the SIM card tray gone, we can pull up the lower loudspeaker plastics. This time around it does have balls inside. We also get access to the lower charging port board. This has 2 gold microphones and a red rubber ring that sits around the lip of the 100-watt USB-C 3.2 port. Looking at the waterproofing, we can see our normal mesh over the speaker opening, as well as the 2 watertight films off to the side of the microphone hole shafts. Our haptic vibrator is perfectly placed behind the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner under the screen. What we really want to see though is up here inside the main board. We have the 50 megapixel wide-angle camera at the bottom. This does not have OIS, which is normal. Then we have the absolutely massive 200 megapixel 3x telephoto camera, which does have internal OIS. You know it's a beast when Oppo sits it directly on top of the vapor chamber. This camera has its own cooling system, a genuine behemoth. Then we have another massive 200 megapixel main camera. Oppo says this is the one with the largest sensor ever put inside a smartphone, which is probably true, and this also has internal OIS. But the coolest camera, in my opinion, is the quintuple prism reflection 10x periscope telephoto camera, which has its internal sensor shift stabilization. And this is where things truly get crazy. First of all, look at this motherboard. It is a square. Oppo focused so hard on getting all their cameras into the middle of the phone that they turned the motherboard with its epically powerful Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip into a bezel. The motherboard is literally just a bezel for the cameras. Getting back to the sensor shifting, see, sensor shift isn't totally new. Apple stole it from the larger modern mirrorless cameras, and as I rip open Oppo's version of the tech, let's take a look at how the iPhone Air's main 48 megapixel camera stabilizes. You can see how the sensor itself is, shifting. If we look back at the Oppo Find X9 Ultra, we can see that its sensor, which is periscopically facing downward, is shifting around as well, just like in the iPhone. The benefit here is that instead of needing to shift around a heavy set of lenses to optically stabilize the image, shifting just the sensor can make 5,000 micro adjustments per second. Sensor shift is 5 times faster and 5 times more efficient than normal OIS. And now Apple isn't the only player on the block who can do it inside of a smartphone. Oppo's sensor floats and shifts on the magnetic field generated by the copper coils. Very impressive. But yeah, the sad part is here we are again with the world's most top-of-the-line smartphone, but it's not for sale here in the USA. We don't get to have nice things. I am curious to see what happens though with the X9 Ultra when it's reassembled without its telephoto camera, and I'm pleased to report that the Find X9 Ultra is just as beautiful on the inside as it is the outside, just like you. With the battery back in and the top plastic screwed down, the top eyeball still gone, the phone turns on, but alas, no camera functionality remains. I guess it's an all or nothing situation where if one camera dies, the rest go on strike. Can't really blame them. But still, no regrets. If you're tired, snag some energy and support adaptive athletes with the link in the description. And thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.